Hello everyone, this is Andre from Chatta Box. This is actually my very first show, so I'm very excited to be here with all of you. Thank you for tuning in, and please click the like and subscribe button so that you can stay on top of all of the content that I'll be releasing over time. And once again, thank you for being here. This is my very first show, so I'm excited, and I actually had tons of ideas of what I wanted to discuss, but of course with Joe Biden announcing Senator Kamala Harris as his pick for running mate, it threw a lot of those ideas out of the window, so I guess we're talking about that, so let's chat about it. So first of all, I want to put my biases out there. I, politically speaking, lean towards progressive policies where policies would have people at the center of the policies on top of profit, and where people would be favored over corporate interest, amongst other things that I stand for. But as time goes by, you'll get to see where I come from on all of these subjects. The reasons why I'm putting that out there is because although it was not my intention, I wanted to make a more broader scope conversation on my first video. I feel that it's very important to speak to that group because I belong to a lot of different social media groups that are progressive leaning, and some of the comments that I hear, they're very divided, and I feel that it's important, especially in this time that we're in, to have a more cohesive front towards the threats that we're facing. Now, I want to also put it out there that I'm completely on board and aware of the existential threats that we face right now. I'm not okay with 50,000 Americans dying every year because of lack of healthcare. As an industrialized country, I believe that that should not be. I am not okay with spending dozens times more, hundreds times more of our national resources on endless wars that lead to nothing, just to line the pockets of a few, the military-industrial complex, while our schools are falling down, our infrastructure is falling down. Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean drinking water, and while kids cannot invest in our economy because they're paying a life worth of debt in college. As an industrialized country, we're the only one that allow these things to occur to the extent that they're occurring. So I'm fully aware of those issues, and I see the hunger of wanting those things to change and change today, because the truth of the matter is that the frustration that has guided these elections has been cumulative. This did not happen overnight. In my opinion, I see that it has been like 40 years of a decline in the standard of living of a large amount of the population, and a betterment for the standard of living of just a very, very small part of the population. That being said, of course, people will rebel, and people will rebel in different ways. Some people were so fed up at the system only favoring a few, empty promises, identity politics that were not followed up by policy that will actually improve the quality of life of people. People were so fed up with all of those things that a lot of them just stayed home. A lot of them voted for the other guy because at least he had the rhetoric that fed to that anger and spoke to those concerns. And so I get it. I've seen this from a lot of different angles, and I even kind of risk getting kicked out of my house because I've made a very adamant point when the primaries in the Democratic Party were going on, that we cannot keep on repeating and offering up the same candidates because the same results are going to happen. People are going to stay home. People are going to tune out because they know that these candidates don't really mean what they say. They only want to offer up platitudes. They only want to win you over and woo you, and then their policies are going to be driven for corporate interests and not for people. So my warning always was, we need to vote for someone who has a trajectory of voting in favor of the people, voting against things that overwhelmingly favor corporations and just treat people as an afterthought, right? So with that open conversation that I've been having with family and friends, I had a lot of people say, like, you know what, the truth of the matter is I've looked into this and Bernie fits the bill. And a lot of my friends and family said, like, you know what, I'm going to vote for Bernie no matter what they say. I've seen people on mainstream media say, like, you know what, I'm going to vote for him just because you guys are so mean to him and you guys always try to dog him. So I remember one lady at a restaurant that she got the microphone put on her and she shocked the reporter because he did not expect that. But that being said, it's not what we got. Now, in my personal opinion, and this is just my very Andre personal opinion, okay? So don't take it any other way other than that. If I were Bernie and what happened to me, happened to him, happened to me in 2016, I'd have been gone. Third party, I said like, okay, I cannot consolidate my people under this umbrella because we're not being welcomed, we're being snubbed, we're being painted in an unfair way. I would have gone third party from then. But with the amount of following and the amount of resources and the amount of support that he has, I really think that he would have successfully been able to make a third party run. And at that point, then there would be more definition as to who is on board with him. And those numbers, because numbers matter, those numbers would be able to persuade the conversation a lot more than saying like, you know what, screw it, I'm not showing up. Because with those numbers, that would call attention to both parties and say, hey, you know what? We have a force to reckon with. But under an umbrella where you run the risk of being invisibilized, where you run the risk of being silenced, I don't personally see a way forward there. That's what I would have done in 2016, but here is where we are. That being said, the reason why I decided to make this the focus of the video is because a lot of people are thinking about doing the same thing that happened in 2016. Now, there hasn't really been any studies that I am aware of to dissect what made up the 100 million people that did not vote. I legitimately feel that 100 million is made up of maybe 25 million people that lost faith in the electoral process, 25 million people that really fetishize with seeing everything just burn and starting over, 25 million people that just didn't see themselves spoken to or represented in the choices they had. But for sure, I feel that there are at least 25 million people that are disenfranchised, that don't get out to the polls because of the systematic issues that block people from exercising what should be their inalienable right to vote. I believe that there are people that have, of those 100 million, there are 25 million people at least that have to choose between taking that day off from their very low paying job with no sick leave or paid time off so that they can show up to vote and sacrifice the one thing they have to vote. And then on top of that, not being spoken to at those polls with the people that are up for election. So that's a problem, and I get it. As I said, I've gotten into trouble for expressing so much passion about that point of view. Candidates matter. And I always get into trouble also by saying, I cannot show up to an interview and say, hey, I am bilingual, you were looking for a bilingual person, you're trying to fit the slot of multiracial, multicultural, but I don't know jack about the position and I don't really care to learn, but I'm all you've got. I don't know what my chances of getting the job would be if I showed up like that, right? And that has been my point. Candidates need to earn the vote. And yes, it is upon the people, it is incumbent on the people to show up and actually vote. I get that. Now, I struggle to excuse people that have the best circumstances and just say, nah, I don't like any of them. I just don't want to go out and do it. As a matter of fact, let me take that back. I won't even struggle to defend that because that's indefensible. But as much as candidates matter, I really think that there are added caveats to the situation that we're in right now. Right now, we are facing existential threats that we did not have so front and forward in our faces before. We are at the brinks of a full-on outbreak of fascism in this country. People, protesters, peaceful protesters, and passerbys are being swept up off the street and taken into unmarked vehicles, just for looking like if they were even protesting when they're not. So, coming from a country that survived a dictatorship, I know what that looks like. And we barely escaped it. And it's an ugly picture. It's not something that a country with so much potential like the United States should ever have to face, but we are going down that road, incredibly going down that road. We're allowing ourselves to be okay with more and more and more repressive tactics, with more harassment and abuse of authority, with more complete nonchalantness towards the needs, the hunger, the strife of people. And I'm not talking about having it rough. I'm talking about being okay with people dying. And that has a breaking point. We have been okay with that as a country for too long. And I understand that people not showing up was a form of rebellion. But I think that the results show how effective that technique was. I feel that this is a new day for anyone who wants to run on a pro-corporate platform, because now we have a coalition of people that are speaking up against that. From all walks of life, from all socioeconomic statuses, people are uniting to say, we want people-centered policies. So capitalizing on that, in my very personal opinion, I think is the way to go. I feel that now we have a movement that we didn't have in the Clinton era, that we didn't have in the Obama era. He could sweet talk us and deliver nothing, and that was fine then because we lived on hope of change. Now we actually need to see change, and we have the group, we have the coalition, we have the people-powered movement that we did not have then. But I don't think that it is the smartest thing to throw all of that in the fire, run this car into a tree or plane into the ground just because we don't like what we are being served. And objectively speaking, it's not a good choice that we're being served. There are too many questions, too many objections, too many things in the records, the voting records of these people. Senator Harris, on one of the most recent things that were up for discussion about reducing by a small percentage the Pentagon's budget so as to reallocate that to education and for housing projects, for social projects, right? 10%, I think it was it 10% that was being proposed, and that was knocked down. That was voted against overwhelmingly, and she voted to vote it down. So they're trying to taunt her as a people oriented, someone that fights for the people. That was her campaign when she was running, but in her voting record there are objective problems to that representation that she's trying to taunt, and I get it. On the other hand, there are things that have been positive in our voting record. And I feel that we need to look at everything with a grain of salt. We are not in a time in our country where we have the political capital to sway things in the progressive direction just yet. But we are getting there. And I feel that if under the most difficult of circumstances, we were able to get people like Ilhan Omar, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Katie Porter sweeping into the House, and many others that this cycle around have knocked out incumbents and now in November running for those seats. Right? Progressives are winning across the nation under the most difficult administration that this country has probably seen for progressive policies and values. Now imagine how much more we could get done if we didn't have to deal with the scandals, the clownery, and the nonsense that we're having to deal with. And in 4 years, we run the risk of not even being able to concentrate on policy because we are dealing outright with fascism. So how much energy and political capital we would be expending fanning away fascism instead of focusing on people-oriented policy? And that's my point. I'm not making a case for Biden, God no. I'm not making a case for Kamala. I really have the same objections that all progressives have about them. But I'm looking at the bigger picture, and I'm saying we need to get rid of a cancer that is impeding healthy progress and recovery. If our body metastasizes into full-on stage 4 cancer, with all due respect of cancer survivors and those who have passed, we know what that means. We get nothing done. I feel that this is a new day. We have a movement. We have a following. We have public support of policy, but we also need to understand that elections for most people are not rational as we deem ourselves to be rational. Most elections for most people are emotional. You can't blame people for feeling that connection with first Afro-descendant woman with Afro-descendant heritage being or nominated under a major party ticket, because she wasn't the first Afro-descendant to run as VP. There was someone in the 50s before even voting rights were enacted, and pardon me for not remembering her name. That was probably the first. She ran as an independent progressive against all the establishment of the time. But she is the first Afro-descendant female to run under a major party ticket. Questionable voting history? Fine, yes, I get it. But we have also seen that she is someone that is willing to be pushed in the right direction if the right group of people exert power. Now, that's where I feel that we come in. We need to make sure that we are ready to exert that power and build political capital so that tomorrow we are the ones that will be exerting pressure. But Even though I am a proponent of not living in fear, not doing anything out of fear, I also believe that we should respect the situation that we're in. We should respect the danger that we face. Not fear it, but adjust accordingly. We always complain about corporate Democrats not pivoting, not adjusting to the times. Then are we adjusting to the times as progressives? Right? I feel that we need to also pivot, coalesce, and not say all in for these people. It's not about them. It's about what we really want to see, right? And if a lot of people were able to do something as abominable as vote for you know who, just because they didn't like Hillary, I don't think that it's to the same extent. And some might argue it is. Fine, I will accept that. That's fine, because let's have that conversation. But right now, how patriotic of us will it be? How much showing care for this nation and the betterment of this country will it be if our strongest ideal is let the chips fall as they may, let this all crash and burn, and let's resurge from the ashes? We don't know what those ashes are going to look like. We don't know what that resurgence is going to feel like. Are we really willing to go there? Honestly? Truly? So we can call it fear, we can call it once again submitting to the powers that be, but we need to also understand that we are in a different place than where we were before. We have power that we did not have before. We have a movement that we did not have before. So even facing these obstacles that we will definitely face under a potential Biden Kamala administration, they also are going to face a force that they did not know or they don't want to recognize was there. They will also face a force to be reckoned with. The progressive movement, the people-driven movement that did not exist in the Clinton and Obama era. Not this organized, not this interconnected, not this communicated, not this woke and informed and aware as we are today. Were people always conscious that things needed to be fixed and resolved? Yeah, but they weren't front and center like they are today. No one can tell me different. So in my opinion, I feel that we deal with this effectively. If we feel that after this we say, like, you know what, we are buying ourselves some time to form that third party, I'm all about that. I'm all about diversity of thought, because there are legitimately people that don't identify with the Republican Party and don't identify with the Democrat Party because they feel that none of them are serving the interests of the people. And hello, that's not news. So if we want to buy ourselves some time so that we can properly organize a third party and show our strength and say, we got numbers, then let's do that. But crashing this plane into the ground, not knowing what that's going to look like, who's going to survive from this, I think that it's very selfish. Again, this is only my opinion, and I just wanted to put that out there because I feel that it's important for us to have these conversations now that we still have time. Everybody should vote their conscience, and it's a free country. We're allowed to do so. But as a free country, we also as progressives look down on people that refuse to wear their masks because of it being a free country and their personal liberties, because they're being selfish and they're not looking out for the greater good of most of us. I don't see it being any different. And a lot of people won't either. So we have the option of isolating ourselves into our ideals that are fantastic, or having conversations with people, fine-tuning our approach, being more strategic, being more incisive, and being smart about the way that we go about stuff instead of being extremely passionate. Let's make the walk through those hallways better for the ones that are coming behind AOC and behind Ilhan Omar. Don't even get me started on the fact that the party snubbed AOC for a 60-second slot and they're giving a Republican or former Republican, I don't even know if he's still a Republican, John Kasich, I think it is, I can't remember, pardon me if I don't get all the names straight, but 15 minutes versus 15 seconds when Joe Biden is lagging in the Latino vote and lagging in the youth vote. This would have been a great opportunity for him to get all these people on board. So trust me, I'm right there with you. I see all the issues, and I'm constantly told to lower my voice when I'm talking about these things because I'm super passionate about it. Wrong is wrong in my view. Stupid is stupid in my view, right? Whatever I call stupid, I just really feel very passionate about the things I feel passionate about. So I get it. But I also have a background that allows me to see outside of the box of what I want. And it's not relenting. It's not compromising my values. It's working at them, working towards those values through different techniques. And if we're going to get in there, we're not always going to get our way. We're going to have to fight powers. Even if Bernie had been in there, he would have had to fight powers as well. He said something beautiful that I thought was a well thought out plan of primarying people that objected to his policies, primarying representatives and legislators and senatorial races with progressive candidates, going state by state and primarying them and filling the House and the Senate with our people to get our laws or our projects passed. And I think that that's fantastic, but even that would have taken time. Even that would have taken lots of effort and lots of doing and lots of fighting the forces that be. So right now, the way I see it is picking who we want to fight, because we can either fight this current administration or we can fight an upcoming administration that I feel is kind of like an empty suit that we can fill with what we choose to fill it. We just need to be ready to fill it with what we want to fill it. So that's all I have. Boy, it was a lot. If you guys stuck around for all of this, I really thank you. I had a lot to say, and there was no way to condense this because this is a very important, deep conversation that needs to be had. But if you guys stuck around here for it, thank you. Have these conversations with your friends and families. Share this video. My intention is not to force my ideas or shove my ideas down anybody's throat, but I feel that we need to bounce around these ideas in our heads just in case it might let us see things a different way, because even over time I have evolved in my approach to certain subjects. So if we want to win this, we need to start being strategic, we need to start being smart, we need to start acting cohesively and coherently. Together, we are not going to get far by ourselves and everybody doing whatever they think will work. We need to come together as a progressive community for those values and work together with a thought out plan. So that's all I got. Gotta go to work. So I'm a 9-to-5er just like many of you. So using some of my time to do this because I feel it's important to keep these conversations going. So leave some comments below. Tell me what you think. And just be thoughtful, be respectful, keep the conversation going, and let's chat about it.